If you're approaching retirement or already there and feeling like something's missing that no one warned you about, you're not just unprepared, but also discovering truths that could save you years of disappointment and regret. Have you ever noticed how everyone talks about retirement like it's a magical destination where all your problems disappear? How do they paint pictures of endless golf games, grandchildren's visits, and peaceful mornings? But no one mentions the quiet panic that sets in on Tuesday afternoon when you realize you have absolutely nothing meaningful to do. Most people believe retirement is about stopping work, collecting Social Security, and finally relaxing after decades of hard labor. That if you save enough money and reach 65, happiness will automatically follow. But today I'm going to reveal 7 uncomfortable truths that retirement advisors, financial planners, and even well-meaning friends never mention. These aren't about money or healthcare. These are about the deeper, soul-level realities that can make or break your golden years. Because the difference between a retirement filled with purpose and one filled with regret often comes down to knowing these 7 things before it's too late. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Most people enter retirement following someone else's path, only to discover they're lost in a wilderness they never saw coming. The first truth nobody tells you is that retirement isn't an ending. It's a complete identity crisis waiting to happen. For 40 years, you've been defined by what you do. I'm a teacher. I'm an engineer. I'm a nurse. Then suddenly you're nothing. You're just someone who used to be someone. I understand that feeling of floating without an anchor. You wake up on Monday morning, and for a split second you panic because you think you're late for work. Then reality hits. There is no work. There's no schedule demanding your attention, no phone calls to return, no deadlines to meet, and instead of feeling liberated, you feel empty. This happens because our culture teaches us that our worth comes from our productivity. We learn to measure ourselves by what we accomplish, not who we are. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." But no one prepares you for the season where your old purpose ends and you haven't found your new one yet. Margaret, 67, from Wisconsin, discovered this the hard way. She'd been a high school principal for 35 years. Everyone respected her. Students, teachers, parents, they all looked to her for guidance. She retired on a Friday with a big party, lots of speeches about her legacy. By the following Wednesday, she was sitting in her kitchen at 10 a.m., still in her robe, wondering who she was supposed to be now. If you don't address this identity shift, you'll spend your retirement feeling like a ghost of your former self. You'll introduce yourself as "I used to be" instead of "I am." You'll lose confidence. You'll shrink instead of grow. The solution starts with understanding that retirement isn't about becoming less. It's about becoming more. More yourself. More authentic. More aligned with who you really are beneath all those job titles and professional roles. Start now, before you retire, exploring what excites you when no one's paying you to be excited. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? The second truth cuts even deeper. Retirement reveals which relationships were real and which were just work friendships dressed up as something more meaningful. You'll discover that many people you consider close friends were actually just convenient colleagues. This realization hits like a cold slap on a winter morning. The lunch invitations stop coming. The inside jokes no longer include you. The group texts about office drama exclude you because, well, you're not part of the office anymore. You realize that many of your friendships were built on shared complaints about the boss, not shared values or genuine affection. This isn't because people are cruel. It's because proximity creates the illusion of intimacy. When you remove the proximity, you discover what was actually there, and sometimes what was actually there wasn't much. Robert, 64, from Arizona, worked in construction management for 40 years. Every Friday, he and his crew would grab beers after work. He considered these men as brothers. They'd been through projects together, solved problems together, and complained about clients together. When he retired, he expected the Friday traditions to continue. The first few weeks they did, then the calls became less frequent. Within 6 months, he realized he'd been replaced in their conversations by whoever took his position. These weren't his brothers. They were his work friends. There's a difference. If you don't prepare for the social shift, retirement becomes a lonely desert where you're surrounded by silence instead of the comfortable noise of workplace relationships. You'll find yourself driving by your old office just to feel connected to something familiar. The solution is to start building relationships that exist outside your workplace. Join clubs that have nothing to do with your career. Volunteer for causes you care about. Reconnect with neighbors. Cultivate friendships based on shared interests, not shared employers. Real relationships survive job changes because they're built on something deeper than convenience. Benjamin Franklin understood this when he said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." But he wasn't just talking about financial knowledge. He was talking about knowledge of yourself, knowledge of what truly matters, and knowledge of how to build a life that doesn't depend on external validation. The third truth is perhaps the most shocking. Retirement can kill your marriage if you're not prepared for it. After decades of ships passing in the night, suddenly you're both home all day, every day, staring at each other across the kitchen table, wondering what to talk about. Many couples spend their working years like roommates, managing a household business. You divide responsibilities. You coordinate schedules. You tag team parenting duties. But you stop really seeing each other as people. You see each other as functions. When those functions disappear, you might discover you're married to a stranger. This is the elephant in the retirement room that no one talks about. Divorce rates spike among couples in their 60s and 70s. Not because they stopped loving each other, but because they realized they stopped knowing each other somewhere along the way. Dorothy and Harold, both 69, from Maine, married for 43 years, almost became the statistic. Harold retired from the Postal Service, and Dorothy from her job at the library. Suddenly, they were together 24/7. Harold wanted to travel. Dorothy wanted a garden. Harold liked the TV loud. Dorothy preferred quiet. They realized they'd been living parallel lives for so long that their actual lives had become incompatible. The warning signs include finding yourself irritated by your spouse's presence instead of comforted by it, making separate plans without discussion. I feel relieved when they leave the house for a few hours. These aren't signs of a bad marriage. They're signs of a relationship that needs intentional rebuilding. The solution requires treating your marriage like a garden that needs tending after years of neglect. Start having conversations about your individual dreams for retirement, not just your joint financial plans. Rediscover what you enjoyed about each other before life got so busy. Plan activities that excite both of you, but also respect each other's need for individual space and interests. The book of Proverbs reminds us, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Your spouse should make you better, not just more comfortable. Retirement is your chance to remember how to be friends again, not just co-managers of life. The fourth truth hits your body before it hits your mind. Retirement ages you faster than you expect, and no one warns you that the sudden lack of routine can accelerate physical and mental decline in ways that shock even doctors. Your body was designed for a purpose, for movement, for challenge. When you remove those elements abruptly, your body interprets this as preparation for death. Muscles atrophy faster, joints stiffen quicker. Your mind, accustomed to solving problems and making decisions, starts to fog when it's not regularly exercised. This isn't about normal aging. This is about the specific physical toll of purposelessness. Your body literally begins shutting down systems it thinks it no longer needs. Balance deteriorates when you're not navigating busy hallways. Mental sharpness dulls when you're not processing complex information daily. I've seen this happen to countless people who went from being vibrant, engaged workers to frail, confused retirees in just a few years. The transformation is stunning and heartbreaking. James, 71, from Texas, was a sharp-minded accountant who could juggle multiple client files and complex tax codes without breaking a sweat. 6 months into retirement, his wife noticed he was having trouble following the plot of TV shows. 2 years later, he was asking the same questions repeatedly. His doctor said it wasn't necessarily dementia, it was mental atrophy from lack of cognitive challenge. If you don't stay physically and mentally active in retirement, you'll discover that use it or lose it isn't just a saying, it's a biological law. Your body will betray you faster than you ever imagined possible. The solution is treating retirement like athletic training, not athletic retirement. Your body needs daily challenges, even small ones. Your mind needs problems to solve, even simple ones. Learn new skills. Take classes. Volunteer for roles that require thinking and planning. Walk daily, not just for exercise, but for the mental stimulation of navigating your environment. Emerson wrote, "The first wealth is health." In retirement, health isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. Without health, all your retirement savings become medical bills, and all your retirement dreams become memories of what you used to be able to do. The fifth truth will shock your wallet and your worldview. The retirement you plan for financially and the retirement you actually want to live might be completely different, and the gap between them can destroy your peace of mind. Everyone focuses on the big number, how much you need to retire comfortably, but no one talks about the emotional cost of living a smaller life than the one you're leaving behind. The psychological adjustment to spending less, doing less, and being less significant in the world can be more devastating than actual poverty. You might have saved diligently for decades, but retirement often reveals that you save for the wrong things. You save for golf club memberships, but discovered you hate golf. You save for travel, but realize you're too anxious to navigate airports alone. You save for a smaller house, but found that downsizing feels like giving up, not simplifying. This creates a strange financial paradox. You have money, but you're afraid to spend it because you don't know how long it needs to last. You worked 40 years to reach financial independence, but independence feels more like limitation than freedom. Patricia, 66, from Florida, saved over $1 million for retirement. On paper, she was wealthy. In reality, she was miserable. She planned to travel extensively, but discovered that traveling alone as a widow felt lonely, not adventurous. She budgeted for entertainment, but found most activities felt meaningless without the social connections her job provided. She had money but no joy in spending it. If you don't align your financial planning with your emotional planning, you'll have the resources for a life you don't actually want to live. You'll either spend your retirement hoarding money out of fear or spend it on things that don't bring fulfillment. The solution is planning for experiences and relationships, not just expenses. Before you retire, spend time discovering what actually brings you joy versus what you think should bring you joy. Test your retirement dreams in small ways while you're still working. Take the trips. Try the hobbies. See what resonates with your actual personality, not your fantasy self. The sixth truth cuts to the heart of family relationships. Your children and grandchildren might not want or need the level of involvement in their lives that you've been dreaming about for years. Retirement often reveals that your vision of family time and their reality are drastically different. This is perhaps the most painful discovery of all. You've been looking forward to being the hands-on grandparent, the available parent, the family cornerstone. But your adult children have built lives that function without your constant presence. They have routines, friendships, and support systems that don't include you in the central role you imagined. This doesn't mean they don't love you. It means they've grown up and moved on, which is exactly what you raised them to do. But emotionally, it can feel like rejection when it's actually success. The pain comes from realizing that the family gatherings you've been dreaming about feel forced when they actually happen. Your children are polite but distracted. Your grandchildren are sweet, but would rather be playing video games and listening to your stories. The Norman Rockwell painting you had in mind doesn't match the reality of modern family dynamics. George, 68, from Iowa, retired with grand plans of being the grandfather who built tree houses and taught his grandsons about fishing and baseball. But his grandsons lived 3 states away, were obsessed with technology he didn't understand, and visited maybe twice a year for awkward duty-driven holidays. His dream of passing down family traditions crashed against the reality of a family that had moved beyond those traditions. If you don't adjust your expectations to match your family's actual capacity for involvement, retirement becomes a series of disappointing interactions where you feel unwanted instead of appreciated. The solution is building your own fulfilling life first, then inviting family to join you in it rather than making them responsible for filling it. Be someone your family wants to visit because you're interesting and engaged, not someone they visit out of obligation because you're lonely and needy. As it says in Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season. This might be the season for you to be the wise elder who enriches family gatherings rather than the central figure around whom they revolve. The seventh and final truth is the hardest to accept. Retirement forces you to confront your mortality in ways that working life allowed you to avoid. When your productive years end, you can't help but wonder, what was it all for? This existential reckoning arrives uninvited and unwelcome. You look back at decades of work and wonder if any of it mattered. You look ahead at the years remaining and wonder if they'll have meaning. You're no longer building towards something. You're counting down from something. And that shift in perspective can be terrifying. The questions become haunting. Did I make a difference? Will anyone remember me? Was I a good person? Did my life have purpose beyond just existing? These aren't questions you can answer with a bank statement or a photo album. They require a deeper accounting of who you've been and who you want to be in the time you have left. This confrontation with mortality isn't depression, it's awakening, but it can feel like death before death if you're not prepared for it. Mary, 70, from Oregon, spent her first year retirement in what she called the Great Review. She found herself going through old letters, photo albums, yearbooks, anything that might provide evidence that her life had mattered. She made lists of people she'd helped, problems she'd solved, moments she'd made someone smile. She was desperately searching for proof that she'd earned the right to take up space on Earth. If you don't find peace with your legacy and purpose before this existential crisis hits, retirement becomes a countdown to death rather than a celebration of life. You'll spend your golden years rehearsing regrets instead of creating new meaning. The solution is understanding that your worth isn't determined by your past accomplishments, but by your present choices. Every day you wake up is another opportunity to matter, to contribute, to love, to grow. Retirement isn't the end of your meaningful life. It's the beginning of your most intentional life. Jesus said, "I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly." Abundant life doesn't end at 65. It might just be getting started if you choose to see retirement not as an ending, but as a new beginning with fewer obligations and more freedom to become who you were always meant to be. These 7 truths aren't meant to scare you away from retirement. They're meant to prepare you for retirement that's real, not imaginary. A retirement built on truth, not fantasy. A retirement that becomes the best chapter of your life because you saw it coming and planned accordingly. The people who thrive in retirement aren't those who had the most money or the best health insurance. They're the ones who understood that retirement is a new life, not an extended vacation from their old life. They prepared emotionally, not just financially. They built relationships that could survive job changes. They developed interests that existed outside their careers. Benjamin Franklin said, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." But preparation for retirement means more than saving money. It means saving yourself, your interests, your relationships, your sense of purpose, your wonder about what comes next. If these truths resonated with you, leave a comment saying, "I'm preparing for reality," and share what state you're from. Let's build a community of people who are planning for retirement with their eyes wide open, not closed. Subscribe for more honest conversations about aging with dignity and wisdom, because the best retirement isn't the one that meets your expectations. It's the one that exceeds your realistic preparations.